SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
2025 is here, and so is the new Brazilian iGaming and sports betting market. But the trail continues to be rough, as Loterj, the regulator of Rio De Janeiro, remains in dispute with the federal government. They've got problems, and they will try to solve them, but baby, like Taylor Swift, they've got bad blood. Welcome to iGaming Daily. I am Fernando Noodt, a senior business journalist for SBC Noticias and your host for today's episode. To discuss the latest about the country, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Relationships Manager Brazil, Isadora Marcante. Isa, how are you today?
Hi, Fair. I'm really happy and excited for this year. It's just like our what we were saying last year, like wait and see, wait and see. Right now, we're like actually seeing things happening. Obviously, we still have to wait and see some other stuff, but I'm really happy to be here and to be joining the podcast.
Yeah, we are waiting and seeing, but also seeing at the same time. So not too bad at all, but also to discuss all of this is SBC Noticias Brasil editor Ricardo Assis. Ricardo, how are you today?
Hello, Fernando. First of all, Happy New Year for everybody. I'm very happy to be here again to discuss a major point here in the industry in Brazil. So let's go for it.
Yeah, let's go for it like we went after those holiday leftovers. Did you guys finish yours already? I just yesterday finished my leftovers from New Year's parties. Did you guys had any leftovers from their dinners and suppers and everything?
Mine last only a day after Christmas and New Year's. Yes, and I love Christmas food and New Year's food, so it's just they don't last long here at my house.
Yeah, here we had a lot because we are in the beach, and here in Brazil, the beach that I was had a outbreak of virus, and everybody got sick, and so a lot of food came back to the house. So we did a barbecue yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know if I should say too bad or so good, but let's just get out of here by thanking our sponsor, Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market and sponsor of iGaming Daily. As a special offer, Optimove are offering new clients a free first month when they buy Optimove. For more information and claim the free month, go to optimove.com/SBC, and we will leave the links down in the podcast episode description so you can find that more easily. But we were speaking about Brazil, we were speaking about the new market and the new problems this new market is bringing with them. But there are not so much new problems, but we have already discussed this for some time already, because companies licensed by the Secretariat for Prices and Betting have, of course, joyfully started operating this January 1st. But those licensed by Loterj, by the regulator of gaming and betting in the state of Rio de Janeiro, are now in the spotlight. So, Ricardo, why don't you break down for our listeners what happened over the last few days?
So in the last day of the year, the Secretariat of Prize and Betting has released the so-weighted list. So now we have 66 companies that are legal to operate in Brazil. 14 of them have the definitive license, and 52, right? 52 have the provisionary license because they have to send some documents and finalize the procedures. So, but from now we have 66 legal companies, but it's a low number because we had like 106, if I'm not wrong, companies that were operating under the provisional license, and so 40 that were not approved. In the middle of these 40, we have some big names like Sports da Sorte, PixBet, that are the sponsors of Flamengo and Corinthians, that were relying on the Loterj license that now has been revoked by André Mendonça, the Minister of the Supreme Court. And this is going to be judged by the Supreme Court in the middle of the next month. So it's going to be a really swiftly. It's going to be really, they are going to go right for it. So we are supposed to get a decision really quickly. And Loterj has already recurred, and we have to wait and see what's going to happen next. But I think we're going to have a decision really quickly, because it's something that the union really wants to end now, because it's something that is going to hurt them.
Cool. So, of course, we're waiting and seeing for what happens. But if you want to see what happens, be sure to subscribe to SBC Noticias Brasil newsletter, where all this information will be available as soon as things start happening. Of course, you can read all about what we are talking about in this podcast and what we are about to continue to discuss on SBC Noticias Brasil, as well as SBC Noticias in Spanish. So make sure you subscribe to both newsletters. But Ricardo, you were saying the Supreme Court moved very, very swiftly to advance with this issue, with this matter. So, Isa, how did the industry react to this very swift movement by the Supreme Court?
Well, obviously, the operators that got the federal license are quite happy with this, because especially like when you have to pay 30 million BRL and a DGR of 12%, and some other companies are paid 5 million BRL per license and are paying 5% of GGR. The companies that pay more obviously are happier and engaged with the situation. But some other people, especially lawyers, are quite like surprised with with this move from the Supreme Court. It was really fast. I remember that during our SBC Digital Day, Brazil Digital event, we were discussing like how long it will take for the Supreme Court to judge the situation and to give the final word. And we were predicting like 2026, maybe, because 2025 we wouldn't see like a very big major changes in that scenario. And actually, what's happening is like the opposite. We just saw the first decision, and then they will give the final word in mid-February. So obviously, the Loterj licensees are not very happy with that, because the law said that they could do what they're doing. Actually, like the law 13756 from 2018 allowed the state lotteries to offer sports betting in their territories, yes, but this was also going to be done only after the provisional measure, and Loterj's procedures and rules were set before the provisional measure. So actually, Loterj is not doing anything wrong. They're just following the law. We understand that, and everybody in the industry understand that this is a clash, and there is a clash between like the federal government and the state government. This cannot happen. But it's really weird what's going on in the industry. It's like I said in the previous podcast that I took part in, it's really 50-50. Some people are saying, oh, yeah, that's correct. Obviously, like the federal government should prevail over the state government and the state rules. But other people are saying that, no, this is not right what's being done, because Loterj is just following the rules that were previously set for this market.
Yeah, it's a matter of a moral versus it's a morality and legality, because the legality is on the side of Loterj, but the morality is on the side of the union, because the Loterj is doing the thing about the geo blocking, right? They're not offering the geo blocking. That was something that was an infra-legal measurement that was done after the Loterj bid, so they could do that. But in the moral sense, I understand why the union is so pissed about it.
SBC Leaders connects the gambling industry's top-tier operators and associations to share the best ideas, collaborate on solving the biggest issues, and push innovation throughout the betting and gaming industry. If you're an operator and want to join the discussion, visit sbcleaders.com for more information.
Yeah, and of course, geo-blocking, geolocalization tools are often a problem for many Latin American jurisdictions. For example, in Argentina, where the gaming industry and the online gaming industry is regulated by each province, like there's no federal regulation. There are some issues regarding geolocalization, where as in this tool is having some errors, and so people in close to the border of a province can experience some issues by trying to access a license operator in their province. For example, let's say the city of Buenos Aires. If you live close to the border to the province of Buenos Aires, you might have issues accessing license websites by the lottery of the city of Buenos Aires. So it's definitely an issue to pay attention to, the geolocalization, and of course, given it's an infra-legal rule in Brazil, is of course more and more delicate and intricate to consider, and that's why Loterj is saying, okay, we are just taking people's statements like for granted, like they are, that's our measure to control. They are not betting on websites authorized outside uh, um, Rio, right? So, but how does this affect marketing? Let's say, for example, international operators are looking to enter Brazil. They want to take part of what's said to become the third largest market in gaming in the entire world. So, how do they factor this in their marketing plans? Should they remain confident in their federal licenses, or what should they do, Ricardo?
I think in the federal license, they should remain pretty confident because there's not going to be major changes in it. At least we we expect that. Uh,
We hope that.
we hope. But even the IJBR, that's a major association here in Brazil that has a lot of big names of the industry here, like Betson and Bet365 and other big players. They have issued a statement uh, giving giving props for the STF for going after the Loterj license. So I don't think that's going to affect a lot in the international operators that have already applied for a license and that already operating here.
Yeah, I think the main problem is for the stage license operators by Loterj, because what would happen? What will happen with them if? And we know that this is what's most probably going to happen. But when as the Supreme Court decides in favor of the federal government, will they lose all the money that they paid already to Loterj? How Loterj will be affected by that, economically speaking? How the Rio de Janeiro state will be affected economically speaking as well. So it's I think the concern is more for those operators that got licensed by Loterj or are in process of getting licensed, especially the ones that already paid for the license fee. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.
And of course, with the market being just regulated, of course, it has been regulated for some months already, but now the full regulation is coming into force. Um, how does this make the Brazilian market look, Isa?
Personally, I would say it makes us look like a joke, honestly, because we change the rules over the months all the time. So we have the previous law from 2018 that Michel Temer signed. And then we had the regulation in 2023 signed by Lula. And then we had the law ordinances that came after that are these infra-legal laws that Ricardo mentioned. And then we have the Loterj problem, and then we had Loterj licensees uh, added to the list of the provisional license. But then right now they're not added to this provisional license. Then before you could actually promote bonuses, and right now you cannot promote bonuses anymore. So it's just like it shows to the world that we don't know what we are doing, and we are learning as we do instead of like having a board of people. I would say, and I'm sorry for this, but like competent people regulating a such important market, and a market that requires a lot of responsibility, because it is a market that we know that has its own problems. So it's for people like internally, some people are really happy and and confident with the federal government. Some other people are like, what are we doing here? Like, do we know what we're doing? Like, our government is showing that they can actually do what they are saying that they are doing with all these changes and problems that we are facing in the meantime. So it starts the 2025 with the regulation enforced by the federal government with this clash between Loterj and the federal government is already a very big problem, I would say, from what I've been seeing and talking to other people.
Yeah, and I think the problem is the timing, because if they done it before the license, before the regulation go live, it would be better. And if they did it like after a year or after a year and a half, we would have some time to prepare. But they doing it if it after 2 or 3 days after the regulation go live. It's a terrible timing. It's a terrible message for everybody that's involved in it.
And it's something that we discussed as well, like during the SBC Brazil digital event. It's just like we had 6 years of like lack of regulation, and people now had like 6 months to adjust and adapt to all these new rules and the rules that were coming out in the middle of the process. Like we had like a law ordinance published, like, I don't know, like 2 months ago.
No, we have law ordinances published in December.
In December, exactly. We had one. That's true. So it's just like, it's really complicated. It's really complicated. It's not a message at all.
And speaking of complications, what impact will the decision of the Supreme Court have on sports betting sponsorships in Brazil? I know there's some that are directly affected by this ruling.
Yeah, in Brazil, there are the two biggest teams in Brazil in terms of supporters are Flamengo and Corinthians, and they are both sponsored by brands that did not receive the federal license, Sports da Sorte and PixBet, and they were relying on the Loterj license, and the Loterj license was being recognized by CBF, by the Confederation of Football here in Brazil, and by now it's still valid by the confederation, because they don't have to do anything until we have a final word by the STF. But we have to wait and see what's going to happen, because if the STF, if the Supreme Court does what we expect they are going to do and revoke this national license from Loterj that they offer, it's going to be a major impact in this two team, because their sponsorship is going to be only going to be able to do in the state of the Rio de Janeiro. So maybe the company will rip the contract. I don't know. We have to wait and see, because it's major. It's a lot of money involved. Corinthians receive, I think it's around 110 million, and Flamengo it's 105 million or something in that numbers. It's a lot of money to just be able to sponsor in one state of the country.
It looks like Corinthians doesn't have much luck with their sponsors lately, but hopefully they can solve this soon enough, as well as, of course, the Loterj and federal government. Hopefully they can sort this whole issue as swift as it has begun in this 2025. But let's go back to what is next for the case after Loterj appealed last week, and what's the timeline we can expect for the case? What's next now?
Well, like Ricardo mentioned before, the plenary of the Supreme Court will vote on this matter in between the 14th February and 21st February, something like that. That's the prediction. So we might have a final solution on that day. But like I said before, like what concerns me the most and concerns the industry is like, it's not only like the decision, but like what's going to happen to these operators after that. Like, how will they gonna be? Just like that, like, okay, you cannot operate outside the Rio territories anymore. You cannot, let's say, sponsor Corinthians anymore. You cannot sponsor I don't know, São Paulo, and because you're licensed in Rio and not in the federal government. What's going to happen with these operators, and what all the money invested in that these operators actually trust on the law that they said they could do what they were doing. So obviously, like, Loterj appealed to the decision. We have to #wait and see. But it's really, I would say, like a cloudy It's really cloudy. What's happening? And
Okay, if you want to stay tuned to what's going to happen, whether it's cloudy, rainy, or if the sun eventually comes out for Brazil, for Loterj, for the union, and for everyone involved, be sure to subscribe to SBC Noticias Brasil newsletter, of course, as well as every other SBC media newsletter, because we all cover this major news. So be sure to stay up to date with this information and more, subscribing to all SBC media newsletters and specifically to the SBC Noticias Brasil newsletter. But that has been all for today's episode of iGaming Daily. Thank you very much, Ricardo. Isa, thank you very much, James Ross, for producing this episode. To all our listeners out there, Happy New Year, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.